In the heart of a city that never sleeps, nestled between the buzz of neon lights and the hum of restless souls, stood an old, neglected apartment building that everyone seemed keen to ignore. The peeling paint and cracked windows whispered secrets of its former grandeur, a faded beauty shrouded in mystery. It was in this very building that a peculiar tenant resided, Mr. Matheson, known to many as a recluse and to some as downright eccentric. Tall and gaunt, with an imposing presence and eyes that seemed to harbor a storm of untold stories, Matheson had lived there for longer than anyone could remember. On one particularly dreary night, as rain battered the windows incessantly, a sense of foreboding crept through the aged hallways of the building. Mr. Matheson, wrapped in a tattered robe with pockets full of curious trinkets, wandered the dim-lit corridors with a peculiar urgency. He had been expecting a visitor, one that no invitation was ever needed to summon. As the clock struck the ominous hour of midnight, a soft, deliberate knock echoed through Matheson's apartment, sending ripples of dread through the air. With reluctant anticipation, he approached the door, each creak of the floorboards louder than the last. Before turning the handle, he paused for a moment, a fleeting glance at an old private investigator's badge hanging on the wall, a memento of a past life. Taking a deep breath, Matheson opened the door. The visitor, cloaked in shadows, stepped forward. The air around them chilled, and the dim room seemed to shrink under the weight of their presence. Words were unnecessary. They exchanged a look that spoke volumes. The visitor was an ominous figure with an ethereal presence, their face obscured by a hood that seemed to breathe alive with shadows. The visitor was none other than Matheson's own worst fear. It was his past, the unfathomable secrets he had buried deep, erupting with vengeance. Once Matheson was a detective, famed for solving the most sinister of mysteries. But in his pursuit of justice, he crossed paths with an entity beyond comprehension, a spirit of unrest that thrived on deceit and corruption, a case left unsolved that pursued him. Tonight, it was time for Matheson to face what he had long tried to escape. The dialogue between them was not of spoken words, but of shivering silence and enlightening recognition, a narrative only they could understand. As they stood there, the outside world seemed to falter, time immortalized in that single moment. In the profound quiet, Matheson reached for his badge, memories flooding back of days where light still shone on hopes of redemption. But now, standing with the specter of his former brilliance cloaked in darkness, he realized that redemption was no longer possible. The weight of unresolved stories bore heavily on his soul. As the visitor's steps faded into the depth of the morning fog, Matheson was left alone, a prisoner of his memories and specters of the midnight hour, an unsolved mystery within himself.